Declining to allow my stepdad to meet my daughter, I've spent a lot of time thinking about what I want to say and how I want to express it, especially when it comes to the subject of my stepdad and his involvement, or lack thereof, in my life, and now the life of my daughter. There's a deep history between my stepdad and me, one that has left me with scars I'm still processing today. To put it simply, my stepdad has not been a good person in my life, and certainly not a positive figure to be around my daughter. As I've grown and reflected on my experiences, I've made it clear that I do not want him involved in my family's life, and that includes having any kind of relationship with my 2-month-old daughter. My mom, though, continues to press me about letting him meet her. She has asked me several times when I'm going to let him see the baby, and each time I've been firm in my response. I do not want him around her. I've made my boundaries clear, but that doesn't stop the pressure from coming, and it has been a source of ongoing stress for me. The complexity of this situation isn't just about one person. It's about years of trauma and mistreatment that my stepdad inflicted on me. My experiences growing up under his roof were far from ideal. In fact, they were deeply damaging to my mental health, self-esteem, and overall sense of safety. From the beginning, my stepdad never made an effort to connect with me. There was always this underlying tension between us that grew over time. He seemed to always have a short temper, and he often took out his frustration on me, making me feel as though I wasn't worthy of love or respect. He would criticize my appearance, my interests, and my way of thinking. If I ever disagreed with him, it would trigger a confrontation. Instead of trying to understand me or offer any support, he would belittle me. I felt invisible in my own home, like I didn't matter. His constant belittling and verbal assaults were a steady reminder that I wasn't welcome or valued. As I got older, I started to recognize that these were not the behaviors of someone who should be in my life, let alone in my daughter's life. I realized that his behavior wasn't something I could just brush off. It wasn't something that could be forgiven, because it had long-lasting effects on me. When I was younger, I didn't fully understand that what was happening to me was abusive. I didn't know that it wasn't normal for a parent figure to treat their child like that. But as I grew older, I began to recognize the toxicity in his behavior, and I knew I had to create distance. I still struggle with the impact of that time in my life. He made me feel like my feelings didn't matter, like my thoughts were invalid, and that I was somehow less than everyone else. And it wasn't just the verbal abuse. There were also moments of physical intimidation that left me feeling vulnerable. I remember when I was a teenager, he would get in my face and yell, often saying things meant to provoke me into reacting. I learned quickly that it was easier to just stay silent and avoid conflict than to try to stand up for myself. In those moments, I just wanted to disappear. I was afraid of what might happen if I spoke up or if I stood my ground. Even when I moved out, I was still subjected to his manipulative behavior. A few months before I left home last year, he was still trying to engage with me in a way that felt forced and hostile. He would come into my space uninvited, and I felt like I couldn't escape from his presence. One of the most memorable things he would do was yell at me, getting uncomfortably close and accusing me of being weak. "What are you going to do?" he'd ask, his voice laced with aggression. "You gonna hit me? Fight me? What are you gonna do, coward?" It was his way of trying to intimidate me, and it worked. He'd say these things with a sense of entitlement, as if I owed him some sort of explanation for not engaging with him the way he wanted. Then, when I didn't react, he would flip the script and play the victim. He would tell my mom how hurt he was by my refusal to include him in my life, as though I was somehow the one causing the problem. It's this manipulation, the way he twists things to make himself the victim, that frustrates me the most. It's not just about my past, it's about how he continues to try to manipulate me now, especially when it comes to my daughter. My mom will ask, "When are you going to let him see the baby?" And I'm left to defend myself, yet again, for setting boundaries that protect me and my family. The thing is, I don't want him anywhere near my daughter. I don't want her to be exposed to the same treatment I was subjected to. She deserves to grow up in a safe and loving environment, one free from toxicity and manipulation. I've made it clear to my mom that my stepdad is not welcome in my life, and that includes my daughter's life. But the pressure to move on and let go of the past continues to weigh on me. I'm being told by some family members that I'm overreacting, that it was so long ago, and that I should just let it go. They don't understand that for me, this isn't just about something that happened years ago. This is about a lifetime of emotional scars, a lifetime of mistreatment that shaped the way I view relationships and boundaries. It isn't easy to let go of something that has had such a profound effect on me. I've tried to explain this to my family. I've tried to help them understand that the way my stepdad treated me wasn't something that can just be dismissed because time has passed. The trauma that I've experienced doesn't disappear simply because I've grown older or because years have gone by. My feelings and experiences are valid and they need to be respected. My mom, on the other hand, seems to have a different perspective. She doesn't fully grasp why I'm so adamant about keeping him away from my daughter. She thinks I should let go of my resentment, but it isn't that simple. It's not about holding on to anger. It's about protecting my child from a person who has proven time and again that he is not someone I can trust. I've tried to explain this to her, but it's difficult for her to understand. She has a history with him, and she can't see him the way I do. She wants to believe that people can change, that time can heal wounds, but I'm not so sure. I can't risk my daughter growing up around someone who made me feel less than. I can't allow her to be exposed to his toxic behavior and manipulation. I want her to know love, support, and safety, not fear, confusion, and hurt. My decision isn't about denying anyone the chance to meet my daughter. It's about ensuring that the people in her life are safe and healthy for her. And my stepdad simply doesn't fit that description. I understand that some people might view my decision as extreme. I've heard the arguments from relatives and friends. It's been so long, why not just forgive him? But forgiveness isn't something that should be expected, especially when the harm that was done continues to impact my life. Forgiving him doesn't mean inviting him back into our lives. It doesn't mean allowing him to hurt me or my family anymore. For me, setting this boundary is an act of self-care. It's about standing up for myself, standing up for my daughter, and saying that I deserve better, and she deserves better. I know I'm doing the right thing for us, but it's still hard. It's hard when family doesn't understand. Hard. When I feel like I'm the only one holding this boundary. But I won't let my daughter be exposed to that kind of negativity. She deserves peace. She deserves safety. She deserves to grow up without the weight of toxic relationships hanging over her head. At the end of the day, this decision isn't just about my stepdad. It's about my role as a mother. I have a responsibility to protect my daughter, and I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that she is surrounded by people who respect her, love her, and make her feel safe. My past with my stepdad has shaped my understanding of what it means to have healthy relationships, and I am determined to create a different kind of future for my daughter. No matter how hard it is, no matter how much pressure I face, I will always put her well-being first. And if that means keeping certain people out of our lives, then so be it. I know that I am doing the right thing, and I will continue to stand firm in that decision.